Hey everyone, Lotus Prince here. I'm sorry that the perspective and the lighting may not be as good as they're used to. I don't normally record from this area, but I'm doing this very impromptu because there's an announcement I have to make that is like, yeah, I'm so excited about it. This is just really, really important to me. Regarding the sequel to Charles Barkley Shut Up and Jam Gaiden, Barkley 2, let's just call that for short, the name's freaking long. New information about the game and the Kickstarter has been launched. This game's gonna happen. It's really gonna happen. For starters, let me give you a bit of information regarding the game itself. Sorry, I'm tripping over my own words here because I'm a mile a minute. They had an interview here. It was Chef Boyardee, one of the creators of the game, interviewed RPG Codex, like on their site, rpgcodex.net. You could find it on the, where was it? Because I missed this when it first came out. Wednesday, the 21st of November. That's when they had the interview. I'm a little late on this one, but the interview is really, really exciting. This sounds like it's going to be a really, really large, open-ended game. It's like a completely different animal from the first game. And I love the first game, but this sounds like it's going to be leaps and bounds crazier. So what's happening is, there we are, Eric Schumacher, Chef Boyardee, interviewed RPG Codex about things you might need to know about the game, how is it, who's making it, that kind of thing. So at the very basic level, how big is the team? There's 8 people in total. Unlike the first, the first team, for me, the first game, there were like just a bit fewer people on that. 8 this time: 2 artists, 2 programmers, 3 designers, and 1 producer. Although a lot of us share multiple roles, it says. And if you think that 8 people is a little small, keep in mind, id Software made one of the most widely known and impactful games ever made, Doom, and that was like a bunch of guys in one of their basements, literally. That's what id Software started as. So don't laugh at like a small team, because small teams do huge things, as was evidenced by even the first Barkley game. That's like such a big deal, and this game sounds like it's going to be insanely bigger. So doing answers for the series. This is going to be an action RPG. The first game was more of a traditional RPG, a parody of the JRPG style. This one, look at the pictures even. One thing I should point out is because they're doing a Kickstarter, they're raising money for this game. Now, it's one thing, that the reason I bring this up is that the first game, it was released for free. They didn't ask for fan donations that I'm aware of, so they were able to shamelessly rip sprites and sounds from other games, and that was actually a lot of the humor in the first game. But if you're asking for money for this one, that kind of thing can't be overlooked. So they're going to have original sprites for this. As you can see, I don't recognize any of these things because they're custom creations. They're really making this game from scratch. And like the first game had some like goofy looking sprites and like just like some like goofy drawn things, and that was on purpose. This looks really like a less jokey, more professional look. You know the jokes are still going to be in there, but like the graphical design is actually pretty serious business. It said, one of the non-obvious influences on the first Barkley game was Arcanum. That I've never played, so that just went over my head. But in Schumacher says, in the mining quest, remember in the Chup mines, where they have to negotiate between the Durgers and the genies, it was a complete ripoff of the Persuasion Mastery quest from Arcanum. I missed that. If you caught that, then good for you, but I've never played Arcanum, so I missed that reference, but it's really cool to see that there are even more references that I didn't get. Tirnanog, the city you're in, which by the way is funny by itself, is a sprawling megacity with tons of people from different backgrounds and social classes based off of Tarant. Again, over my head. The list of games that influenced them were Realms of Arcania, Dark Souls, Saga Frontier, Romancing Saga, Daggerfall, Dark Sun, Shattered Lands, Fallout, Ogre Battle, Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne, and Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. There's more than that, but those 10 are the big ones, and those are pretty intense RPGs. Lots of Eastern and Western stuff, but those are the big ones. And if you have all those games as influences, then wow, that and more. The game is going to be non-linear, fully open world. The world itself is completely open. I don't know if you could read this at all, but I'm pointing where it is anyway. Completely open, go anywhere you want, do anything you want as long as you're strong and clever enough to handle it. That doesn't mean it's recommended. So, you know how actually a lot of games, it'll be like, oh no, you cannot leave your hometown. There's dangers outside. Like, I wouldn't do that if I were you. Like, things are getting too strong. Be sure to, buy the Hylian shield first or whatever. It seems that in this game, you can go wherever you want. You'll just probably get your ass kicked if you go where you're not supposed to go. But if you're slick enough, then you might be able to pull it off after all. Think of it like Chrono Trigger beating Lavos in the very beginning of the game. Like, you can do it, but, like, probably need a new Game Plus for that one. Multiple ways to accomplish the same thing. Think of Deus Ex Style. They give the example, for instance, the first part of the game is escaping Tirnanog, the awful mega city. I'm reading ahead of myself. The mega city that the main antagonist, that's what I was going to say, Cuculain, is corralling dwarfs into. And yes, I just read that out loud. You can do this by escaping the sewers, or a whole goofy quest where you impersonate the newly appointed governor. It's like Deus Ex Human Revolution level of different approaches to things, which really pleases me. Like, how am I going to get in that door? Don't. Go an event. Pay the entry fee. Shoot the guy. Buy a pass. Find a pass. Like, there's different ways of getting into these places, which really, really excites me. Many of the choices you make with your character are permanent and irreversible. You can change classes. Also, there's classes. But your statistics stick. Also, you can actually acquire robotic parts to augment yourself. You play as a cyborg. But if you acquire enough, you permanently become, not a cyborg, but you permanently become a robot. If you're literally, he's more machine than man. Like, you could become a robot and never change back. This affects mechanics. Robots equip items differently. Think like Phantasy Star Online. The wizards get the staffs, the hunters get the swords and pistols. The droids get like, or the robots get like the heavy guns and like the giant melee weapons. Think of it like that. Different set of skills, as well as how certain people react to you, and even the endings available to you. Multiple freaking endings. I don't know if there'll ever be times your character build will ever stop you from completing things, or like the distribution of your base stats, but there is content available to only certain classes, like the robot thing. But content available to you is based more on choices you make than with your character's stats. But there are times in the game where you might need like X piety or X luck or something to get through something. You know, like Dungeons and Dragons, you need a strength of 16 to lift this boulder. You know, something like that. And we get this cool cyberpunk looking, Blade Runner, Snatcher looking, futuristic market with the neon lights and everything like that, where they're selling what's that? Like those Neo Kobe pizzas from Snatcher. Exactly, one of you understands the reference I'm making here. Status neurotypical. You got the sprite with like your robot eye, like freaking Terminator style. You get the mohawk. You have a bazooka looking thing with ammo, by the way. Menu, candy, freaking candy. I love it. It's little things like that just please me. Choice and consequence means different things for different people. There are some things where change happens over time. Not like cosmetic or superficial, like what a horrible night for a curse. I mean, like, if you get somewhere too late, the town might be destroyed unless you intervene. This is a big deal. For instance, last night being November 20th, this interview took place on the 21st, I finished a quest that you can only do really early in the game. If you miss it, you'll never even know it existed. So, yeah, you might miss things without even knowing you're missing them. For another obscure reference, think of Xenogears. There's one of those boss fights that you're supposed to lose against the Alpha Weltall. Like, anytime you punch at it, you're gonna miss, or, like, do nothing to it, and he'll just, like, knock you on your ass. It's like, haha, you cannot beat me, and then the plot moves on. Well, you actually can beat the Alpha Weltall the first time you fight it, but you have to bust your ass, and you get, like, a unique item for it. And you might not even have ever known that that was a thing in the game. So I guess we're looking at stuff like that in this game, which is also really cool. Which reminds me, I actually contacted Eric Schumacher through YouTube, the personal message. He actually got back to me. I asked if he wouldn't mind if I let's play the game, and he said, yeah, sure, knock yourself out. But my playthrough of the game is going to be different than like everyone else's version or playthrough, because the game is just that big with that many choices and consequences. Like, I can't get over how much this excites me. It's called an action RPG. Barkley 2 does not scale to your level. Like in Final Fantasy VIII, enemies leveled up with you. On the other hand, though, this means that they're not going to scale down to you either. So if you walk out somewhere you're not supposed to, prepare to die. Your character's a number... here we go. Your character shoots in the direction your mouse is pointing. Apparently, this is one of those kinds of games. There's like that much freedom of control. Your character's a number of stats. Might, guts, acrobatics, piety, and luck. That influence what you're good at, and you have class, which gives you active passive abilities. Here's what gets me. A gun generation system they're working on. Now, games have that, but here's the part that gets me. It's similar to Diablo or Borderlands weapon generation, but even more diverse. How do you get more diverse than freaking Borderlands? Borderlands had literally hundreds of thousands of guns you could find. Like, that is insane. Like, you could find machine rocket launchers that shoot sludge, or gravity rifles, or shotguns that shoot like walls of fire. Oh my god. Character development. You actually create your main character. I predicted that you might be playing as Barkley in the beginning of the game. Looks like you might not be if you're custom creating, which also makes the game that much more unique. And I know there's no such thing as levels of uniqueness. Forgive me. A long and detailed creation process inspired by games like Mega Traveler, Darklands, and Ogre Battle. I've seen a little bit of Ogre Battle. I've actually never heard of the other two games. These guys are really picking up on games from everywhere. You make choices at different stages of your development that determine your statistics, like your alignment. You have alignment now, attributes, and class, but also crazy things about the world, like whether certain things exist, like the legendary Blue Durger. That might sound goofy, but think of it like, again, Phantasy Star Online. If you make your character a certain class, then, like, depending on your color and your class, like, you may or may not be able to ever find certain weapons. Like, if you want to find the Yasha Blade, you must create, like, a blue wizard or something like that. I had a yellow hunter, so I could never get it. You know, something like that. You get to distribute points when you level up into your attributes, and sometimes your class changes. I don't want to say how or why, but it's pretty simple and it spoils the fun of figuring things on your own out. Excuse me. Got another picture here with the guy's goofy talking. Like just gibberish. I could say whatever I want in these dialogue boxes. Hi, Codex. So you got this character sprite with this portrait that looks just like the character sprite. Like, we're really, really specific character portraits this time. They didn't do that very often in Barkley 1, except for mainly the main characters. There was that one gun dealer guy, the gambler, in the gun shop in, Proto-Neo, New York. For whatever reason, he had his own character image, but it's looking like some guy has it, which is really awesome. I don't know if this guy was made for the purpose of this interview or if it's just anyway, but it's really exciting to me. Now, how are the graphics going to look? Graphically, Barkley was a parody of SNES-era JRPGs. Schumacher says, we have some unbelievably talented pixel artists working on this. I'd say the graphics are comparable to the highest quality PlayStation and Amiga sprites out there, which is, that's a big deal, actually. That's quite good. What have been your goals for the sequel story? And is the second game also going to be canon? Haha, this game is very, very canon. Maybe too canon. That just really excites me. Once you start playing the game, it should be obvious who X114 Jam 9 is. Oh, so maybe it is Barkley? You just customize the look? Like J.C. Denton at the beginning of Deus Ex? What race are you going to be? I don't know, but you're still J.C. Denton? It's kind of funny unless us frame the game as a coming-of-age story. Oops. Bildungsroman. We're trying to use as many German terms as possible. Let me know if you have more good ones. Well, you had Zaubers, didn't you? And like Walpurgisnacht. I think that's what it was. They definitely said Bibelnacht. It lets us do cool things with character creation, so your biology, history, and destiny will push you in directions when it comes to establishing a true identity. But the player will be the ultimate arbiter of what that is. One of the most famous things about Barkley 1 was the save points that would quote real internet rants about console video games. Is that going to be back? Not quite. Barkley 2 has an autosave system like Dark Souls, but the trunk pump, the save point in the other game, is going to be in this, but apparently in a different capacity. And they're also working on DwarfNet, an in-game forum we can post about VidCons, gems, fruit, and other extremely important issues. Well, we may also be working on a marriage system too. Makes me think of the PS2 .hack games, mainly the first 4 .hack games that had the forum system, and I think GU had sort of a marriage thing, kind of, sort of, And then to the Kickstarter. And here's the thing, here's a really big deal. They're setting their funding goal for the Kickstarter at $35,000. That's a far cry from $0, and you saw how good the first game was. Now, they're asking for a lot of help on this, and they set their bar high, which means this game, it's going to be everything they say it is. This sounds like the greatest. This sounds like something you could buy off of store shelves or something. I cannot express how much I want this game yesterday. Oh my god, I want this to happen. Which brings me to the main point of this video, the actual Kickstarter page. Jesus Christ. They have $3,000 already and 75 backers, and it's been a half hour since they launched the Kickstarter. People want this. I want this real bad. You saw how passionate I and Vice the Bold were when we Let's Played the first game. If you watched the Let's Play, but, oh my god, they're doing this. And you got this cool art here. You got this badass looking, X1114 Jams 9. He's got his electric basketball. Reminds me of the Fire and Ice from Chaos in the Windy Cities cover on the SNES. He's got that 90s boombox like this. Frying some poor bastard with a Tommy gun. A big box labeled candy. Graffiti on the wall says, "Fuck you, Culane." Got some prostitute-looking person in the background. Like, ooh, look at how dark and gritty the city's become. This is a game I freaking want. Oh my god. They got all sorts of jokes just in the text on their Kickstarter page. The year is 666X. Reminds me of freaking Mega Man or Hokuto no Ken. The year is 1990X. You're on the mysterious dwarf space ziggurat Necron 7, held captive by the malevolent AI Q-Culane. So, with no memory of who we are, we become X114 Jam 9. We know about this. It's a story about you. So it's an open wide action role playing game. We've generally gotten this. This is from the interviews have already covered things like this. Things change over time. Large open world, edutainment, fast-paced action RPG combat, mouse-aimed shooting gameplay that takes inspiration from action games like Crimson Land and Soldat. I don't know about Soldat, but I've played Crimson Land. That's like a top-down game where you aim by moving the mouse and you shoot exactly where your crosshair is by clicking the mouse. I don't know if it's going to be quite that accurate or if you can aim past the enemy and catch him in the line of fire, but this is how we're doing things. Randomized gun system, millions of possibilities of guns, they say. Like, oh my god. DwarfNet, that forum thing. And then still not convinced that Barkley 2 is the game for you? Take a look at this chart. For Trend, Tetris, Assassin's Creed 3, Spider-Man games. For Corporate Attitude, Dorito the Hedgehog, Halo 4, Spider-Man games, Uniracers. For Stoners, Tetris, Donkey Kong 3, Dixie Kong's Double Trouble. Which is... I don't think that's... that is the name of the game. I was getting confused with Dixie and DKC 2. And Spider-Man games. But for true Doom Murderheads, none of those games are good. Charles Barkley, though? Oh, yeah. So rewards, they got all sorts of really cool perks for this. You could get, obviously, the digital PC download of the game when it's complete, exclusive in-game secrets and wallpapers, plus previous rewards. All these rewards are cumulative. Barkley 2 soundtrack, plus previous rewards, the Tales of Games music pack and monthly updates, VIP access to behind-the-scenes updates and content as they're progressing with the development of the game. All the games Tales of Games has ever released, plus dozens of games they've worked on independently. That's amazing right there. A custom full-sized Cyber Dwarf body pillow to spend your lonely nights with. I haven't read this yet. Though his knotted beagle skin is rough, his touch is tender, and his luscious apple bottom is shapely domed. Jesus Christ. It ships with the pillowcase only, pillow not provided. Warning, Cyberdwarf is a well-established tsundere. Oh jeez. It's not like I'm concerned by my basketball skin, Baka. You get access to the hot tip line. It's almost like those 900 numbers back in the days of like the King's Quest games. If you're stuck in the game or need an extra help, you can like even talk to the Tales of Games people themselves. Alternatively, call us and scream about us how bad the game is. The Barkley Namicon art book plus previous rewards. Possibly become an in-game portrait yourself. An animated forum signature made by Chef Boyardee, and he gives us a sample of this cool-looking badass dog over here in front of the Doritos. You can pose as... This cracks me up. Like, if you donate $1,000, then during an interview where they would be interviewing Tales of Games, you can just pose as one of them and see what happens. Just make up total BS, ad-lib the whole thing. I don't know. Also, they're going to be doing... also, there's going to be a Mac port of Barkley Shub and Jam Gaiden for free. I guess the game was never Mac-worthy until soon, so that's pretty cool. Mac users can appreciate the glory too. That's their $1,000 reward. I think they had a $10,000 on here. Yeah, if you pledge $10,000 or more, then they will send you pictures of them, like pictures of the developers, and you could have lunch with the portraits, and you're responsible for the cost of lunch. Yeah. So this is definitely a game I really want to see come to fruition. As fun as the first game was, I didn't think they'd ever make a sequel to it, because how could you? But it looks like they are, and it's actually not only going to be good, but like insanely awesome. I gotta play this game. Like I gotta play this game. I wanted last year. Like it must be out. We have to help them do this. So I would say, if you can, please donate whatever you feel comfortable donating to these guys to help them achieve their dream, because this sounds so awesome. Like, my body is not ready, and I don't think the world is ready for it, but the world's gonna have to get used to this, because this level of awesomeness does not come around very often. So definitely see if you can help these guys out. And if you're watching this video out of context, if you're watching it on thatguywiththeglasses.com, then I'll see if I'll either embed the Let's Play I did of the first game below, or link to it. If you're watching it on YouTube, I'll drop a link in the video's description of the Let's Play that I and Vice the Bold did of this game. We had a freaking blast, and that was a game that cost the fans nothing to make. This is serious business, and I am so excited for this. So what more can I say? I want this game to come out. I wish these guys the best of luck. I cannot wait to see what the final product is going to be. Until next time, everyone.